Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. We are Infinite. We're going to talk about my Infinite list. We're also going to look at the deck that is dominating the very top of Infinite Ladder right now. I can tell you about the top of the meta. We've got our last chance review for Supergiant, so if you're interested in that, make sure you check that out as well. Let's get started with telling you about our Snap Judgments League. Signups end at the end of the month. The tournament begins March 2nd. It is a Patreon perk for the $1 tier. All you have to do is sign up. We've got well over 60 creators playing at this point. You can be in pods with some of the best players in all of Marvel Snap. You'll play in a pod of 32. The winner of that pod gets a free season pass and gets put into a single elimination tournament. You have a full week to play one conquest game with your opponent to schedule and play it, so that should work out for everybody. We're really excited for this, and we hope you'll join. Check it out on patreon.com/snapjudgments. We're really excited. All right, hopefully you hit the sub button. We bring you more great Marvel Snap content than anyone. We are the most thorough in covering the game. There are 6 videos a week here on this channel. Now, let's actually talk right here before we go further. There's a giveaway on this video. Yesterday and today's video have a giveaway. We'll announce it in Wednesday's video, just so y'all know. In Wednesday's video, we're going to announce 2 season pass winners. All you have to do is be subscribed and leave a comment, and you can get that. All right, so we're going to begin, as always, with questions of the day. Then we're going to look at Spyro. Spyro built a new Loki deck. Then we're going to do a last chance review of Supergiant. We'll then go look at a deck that I hit Infinite with. It is basically the same deck as Evazord created. Eva is a top player. He used to finish in the top 10. Then he had to take a month off, basically almost all of last month for personal reasons. And now he's back and aiming for number 1. Then we will look at Black Swan 1 weekend. You have the full month to buy it, but let's see what the card looks like 1 weekend. From there, Meta Monday. The number 1 deck in Snap right now is Lockjaw Thanos, and Derek Mooj, who's Duruk, and .geo are the players that I've seen hit number 1 with it, and we'll talk some more about the deck credits for that one as we go. We'll finish, as always, with our shop and shoutouts. All right, actually, I don't know if we're doing shop today. Whatever, I don't actually care. This video is huge, and my shop was poopies. Cool. All right, Z Mimicho wants to know a location effect I want to see as a card, and I don't. I think it's kind of lame when they do that. I know that's not the answer you wanted. I want locations and cards to be as differentiated as possible. I can't think of a location effect as a card that I actually like. I think is more to the point for me. Shuri and Shuri's Lab is about as close as it gets. I could see Muir Island as a location, right? Like Muir Island, or the -1 as location cards. The one that gives a -1 to each card every turn it's there, and the one that gives a +1, and that would have to be working on both sides, so that if you were playing a deck that like went wide, you could use it against an opponent who couldn't go wide, for example. Or you can play that in one lane with another card, or be moving things around with the Jean Grey. So I think either one of those would be perfectly interesting, but as a general rule, meh. All right, Snappy Roots asks if a diverse meta is a good meta, and I think so, for the most part. I think there's 3 decks that have risen sort of to the top right now of Marvel Snap. We're going to talk about 2 of them today. The third is Hela. Hela has been everywhere. KM Best shared the Husky Puppies deck, which I think is awesome. Husky's amazing. We also shared that deck 3 weeks ago with tips specifically from Huskies. So, like, again, we bring you the top decks before anyone else. So, I think that the meta settles basically always. It's never really truly fully diverse, but we know the top 3 decks. There are, well, I guess top 4, because Destroy is still in there. But it's basically Loki, Thanos, Hela, and then Destroy, because Destroy refuses to ever go anywhere. So given that's the case, the stage where we're all discovering what the best is always the best time. When we don't know what the best deck is and we're still trying to figure it out, I think that is always a good meta. I can't think of a time a diverse meta meant something bad, but I'm sure it happened. Mojo the Clown asked my favorite 2-cost card. So my favorite 2-cost character is either Multiple Man or Quake. Quake, specifically from the Hickman Secret Warriors run, was one of my favorite characters. I know a bunch of stuff has been done with her since, and I haven't actually read or really cared about it, but that's one of my favorite runs. And Multiple Man, for just years in X Factor Investigation, so on, was one of the best characters in Marvel Snap. It helps that I both really like both of these cards too. My favorite 2-cost card is Ravonna. Ravonna is not a character I give a crap about either in the MCU or Marvel comics, but I really enjoy the kind of deck she promotes. I like running her with Zebu. I like running her as a way to like do Iron Man and Darkhawk shenanigans with Mystique. I think she's really, really fun. She enables goblins in a fun way. I think Ravonna is a very good card. I am a big Ravonna fan. And the best 2-drop in the game is the best card in the game right now. It's Zebu. Zebu, Roy called this, by the way. Roy, my co-host on the Snap Justice podcast, when we were talking about what the best card was, Zebu was like cycling back into the meta, and Roy was like, well, as soon as Blob is gone, Zebu's the best, Zebu's the best. Well, nailed it. Wrinkled Thumbs asked my plans for the football game, which I assume is the Super Bowl. And my plans were to make Marvel Snap content. So I'm going away next week. Next Saturday morning to the Thursday evening, I will be traveling to Orlando, Florida, and going to Universal Studios / Islands of Adventure with my family. There will be 0 days of missed content if I have anything to say about it. I suppose something horrible could go wrong and there could be missed content, but we should be maintaining the exact same schedule. As always, I've got some special stuff planned for you for while I'm gone. I'm even making a backup video just in case someone can't make one that will be relatively evergreen, so that we can, if someone has to miss a day, there will be a backup video. We've got 3 days of pre-recorded videos that'll be ready, along with 3 days of special guest videos. So I have to set all that up, and that has been eating my time on top of the tournament that we're setting up. Setting up a tournament on the 2 months I'm going away back-to-back months is not the best choice I've ever made, but whatever, the tournament's too cool not to get going. But yeah, I spent a ton of time. I've got like 4 extra slideshows open right now. I have to do one more slideshow. I'm going to do a giant all the data mined cards thing as our backup plan. So just so you know, if you're wondering why I haven't talked about data mine cards, I'm using that as a backup plan for if anyone has to miss a day while I'm away. Cool. And I'll have decks for all those because you know me, I never do anything without decks. All right, if you'd like your comments read out in Wednesday's video, not tomorrow, tomorrow's video has the question set. If you'd like your questions read out, please leave it in the comments. All right, we've got Spyro's Loki. Good stuff. This is really cool. Okay, so it's got the Loki package, right? It's using Loki as a package here and saying, I bet you I can win otherwise because Devil Dinosaur should win a lane, right? You play Devil Dinosaur where you're not playing Omega Red. You get Omega Red out, and then when they try and go after the Omega Red lane, because hopefully they can't beat you in the Dino lane, you can use Juggernaut to basically say, no, you can't. I win that Omega Red lane. You can also throw a Cosmo or Shang-Chi to win another lane, and that's just a great way to win in games of Marvel Snap. It's a very, very clever idea. You add that to just, I play your cards with Loki and win, and you have a really, really strong combination of a deck. I like this a lot. I have not played it yet, but it's great in concept. It also has a super high win rate. So Loki and Zebu are musts for this deck. Snowguard is great, but Maria Hill is an okay replacement. Ms. Marvel can be Enchantress or Rogue here. Ika is... Oh, yeesh. I should have changed that Ika. Spyro is awesome, and you can find Spyro at youtube.com/Spyroza. Alright. This has a 68% win rate in 60 great games in High Infinite, which is absolutely nuts. High Infinite, this deck climbed from like 130 to the top 30, I believe, something along those lines. It's super, super high stats. So turn 1, Quinjet or Snowguard, depending. You Quinjet if you're going to try and play cards like Coulson. If you're going to later play cards that you might want to play, and you know you're going to Loki, use Snowguard if you know you're going to Snowguard Zebu Loki. Turn 2, Zebu over Sentinel. Turn 3, Loki if enough cards. Turn, if not, Coulson. If you're going to Loki on 4, or if you played Zebu, you can also just drop a 4-drop, and then if you can drop Cosmo. I don't really like dropping Cosmo here, but you can. Turn 4, Sorry. The reason I don't like dropping Cosmos, there's a lot of Lockjaw on the meta. Lockjaw is the meta Scourge right now. Either Lockjaw or Zabu is the best card in the game right now, the doggy or the kitty. And with that the case, I like to save Cosmos so I can try and stick it in a lane that might win me the game. Alright. Loki is better than Ms. Marvel, which is more or less equal to Omega Red. Turn 5, Devil Dino, or a 3 and a 2. This, turn 5 is your last Loki turn, obviously. And turn 6 is Juggernaut and F4 that will hopefully cost 3. Sometimes Juggernaut and Cosmo. All good? Alright, quick variant talk. This is a low hip deck. We have Zabu, Cosmo, Omega Red, Ms. Marvel. Only 4 here. Sad to see it, but hey, it's better than nothing. The rest of the variants are reasonably cool, but nothing especially worth noting. I do like the Days of Future Past Sentinel, exploding Wolverine there. Alright, last chance review for Supergiant. This is going to be the hardest last chance review in a while. So Supergiant's really, really great in lockdown decks. She's proven to be a powerful tech card. She's in a lot of really, really high win rate decks right now, but we haven't found the perfect home for her. I am convinced we haven't found the perfect home for her because W has been busy this week. I haven't heard from W all week, but my working assumption is that this deck with Supergiant is there. Now, you can play really, really effective lockdown right now without Supergiant. So the best versions might need her, but I don't know that that's the case yet. And she's very in a lot of very good decks, but I don't think she's an absolute requirement. So I still lean toward go get her, but she's not must have. If you asked me on Friday, I would have said she's must have. After some more play, I think she's more of a very good card that I truly honestly think you're going to want and will be broken because I don't know what beats her combos when we find the right home for them. But the right home is complicated right now. I'm not sure it completely exists, and we're working towards it. All that said, let's take a look at Supergiant decks. I decided to give you the best Supergiant decks right now. So the first is Supergiant Thanos Lockjaw. We're going to talk more about Thanos Lockjaw later, but this is the version of Thanos Lockjaw that runs Supergiant. Supergiant's perfectly replaceable in this deck with Leech. In fact, Leech is in the better versions of the deck, and Wave isn't. There's some other changes. But with all of that said, right, like, Supergiant is a viable, super high win rate card in the best deck. That's worth knowing. There's also this style of Supergiant lockdown, which is saying I'm not locking down your locations, I'm locking down your plays, and then I'm winning with Goliath or Arrow, as the case may be. This tends to just win by, like, this is almost a big dumb idiot stack. One of the most terrifying things that can happen in Marvel Snap is Daredevil into Supergiant, assuming you have reasonable power elsewhere. Like if you went Nebula, Daredevil, Mr. Fantastic, Supergiant, excuse me, you have Prio, your opponent has to be terrified. If you snap on that, what is your opponent supposed to do? They like have to run, right? It's a great way to win free cubes. This is the evolution of the deck that started as the Bradsifer deck, and it still maintains a ridiculously high win rate, and it's an excellent, excellent deck. I have 0-0 for Atuma, sorry. I don't think that's especially worth it anymore, but hey, this deck is winning a lot, so who am I to say no? This is a more standard lockdown version. I think with enough time, this will be a better deck. This one is running a storm package with Ms. Marvel with Nebula, so that it can win through that lane, or it can win through Supergiant. It also has the Zabu play pattern where it goes like Zabu, Omega Red, Supergiant, Zabu, Omega Red, Jessica Jones, etc. Where it can Goliath and Doom to win a storm lane, or Goliath to destroy whatever if you've already won the storm lane, etc., etc. This is a very, very powerful deck. This one looks like our friend Sizer's deck from a million years ago. That was the number one deck in the Sebastian Shaw season, and I think this is a really fair evolution of that deck, and it's probably really, really great. If this is your style of deck, if you like these two decks, if you want to play these two decks, I think you should get Supergiant, right? But I think these two decks are the only real home. She's very good in discard. She's very good in certain types of bounce and like Valkyrie nonsense, but she's not required in any of those. She is. Ooh, sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry about that really, really long day. Again, I made 8,000 tons of content today. Excuse me. But I think she is required or will be required for this type of lockdown, lest things like Leech just otherwise wreck your face off. Because Supergiant shutting off Leech, shutting off Sarah is how you win those matchups, and they will be in the meta, and this is how you beat that matchup. Whereas in this type of deck, the deck is perfectly fine. Discard will work perfectly fine. These other decks will be perfectly fine without ever running Supergiant. Lockdown fans, go get your card. Fans of, if you don't really want to play it, feel free to skip it. All right, I hit infinite with this deck. With this deck, with this deck, this is Sanutora. Sanutora is a phenomenal player. Sits near the top of the infinite leaderboard all the time. Top tournament player. Sanu is great. Sanutora hit top 8 or top 4 in the last Lambi tournament with this deck list. I had it sitting in my decks, and I was gonna go make the Spyro list, and I had this, and I was like, ranked 95 or whatever, and I was like, I could just play this, right? If I just play this, I'll hit infinite. And I did. And then guess what? I hit infinite really easily. This deck absolutely smashed face for me, all sorts of face. It was completely dominant. It's different enough in tech that I think it's worth talking about. As for part of that Spyro deck, I also threw a different variant, so it would look pretty and different. All right, so we need Zabu and Loki here. Nico is in Ava's version from Maria Hill, so that's fine. If you, I think Ava's version is better than mine. I think Nico is better than Maria Hill, so make that change if you have Nico. I was just running Sanu's version, and I didn't see Ava's version until after. Literally, as I was like figuring out what decks to cover today, I was playing, and I was like, maybe I'll hit Infinite, maybe I won't today. I'm screwing around, I'm messaging people, and I messaged Ava. I was like, hey Ava, what should I cover? And Ava sent me literally the same list. I didn't see it until I just hit Infinite with it, except I had Nico Maria Hill's place. Nico's better, run it. You need Snowguard, but you can try Agent 13 for Snowguard. Or if you have Nico, play Nico instead of Snowguard. If you don't have Snowguard, but have Nico and Maria Hill. Iron Lad can be Jubilee. You lose a fair amount, but it can be. It has its upside, I guess. Ms. Marvel for Omega Red. And you can find Ava at twitch.tv/Evazord. Ava's awesome Portuguese language streamer. Ava's version is 67% in 91 games in high infinite, which is again completely silly. And on my way to infinite, I played only Sunspot post infinite to get that stupid daily mission thing done. I went 13 and 2, 87%. Yeah, no, that's real. I promise you. 13 and 2, 87% from 95 to 100. And like the reason my 90 to 100 took a few days, and I was much later than usual in hitting infinite, I flew through the 70s, flew through the 80s, no problems. And then in the 90s, I just stopped seeing bots. I don't know why. I think I saw like 3 bots in my whole 90s. So I was just beat. One of them is one of those 8 cube wins at the 13 and 2. But the rest of it was just me smashing face with this deck. And I was not winning at a high percentage with basically anything else. I was winning, but like it was like slow going. All right, turn 1, Quinjet or Snowguard, same logic as last time. Those are better than Maria, and Nico is a card you would like to play there if she has the right ability, but you just play her whenever she fits with the right ability. Turn 2, Zabu is generally better than Quinjet or Snowguard, is generally better than Mirage. Turn 3, you can just Loki. Cosmo and Coulson are fine. Generated cards are an option from here on out. I'm not going to list what generated cards because they could be anything. Turn 4 is Loki, and if you don't have Loki, you would generally like to drop Iron Lad to see if you can hit Loki. Iron Lad lets you know how you need to play the game on turn 4. It says, I am going to try and play 4. It says, I know I'm not going to draw Loki now, so I can play around that. Turn 4, the other play is Ms. Marvel. If Iron Lad hit Ms. Marvel, that's often really good. Turn 5, Loki or Lad, same idea. If you top decked Lad on 4 and still didn't draw Loki, drop Lad, see if you hit Loki. That'd be great. If not, then you just played an Iron Lad. You played a 4/6, it's fine. You also obviously play that with a 1-drop, and then Ms. Marvel. And then turn 6 is Shang and Cosmo fairly often. I spent a lot of turn 6s going, okay, well, I've got a generated card in Cosmo, I've got a Shang and a whatever, yeah? And that won a lot of games of Marvel Snap. All right. I won actually. I think my last game by going Legion into the make all 1-cost cards get plus 2 power location. That I got the Legion from Coulson and it worked really well. Never saw Loki, but you can win. You just have to know what to do. All right. I changed up the variants for this just for your viewing pleasure. We still have two hips, Zebu and Lad, and Coulson is a hip, but not really. We also have a bit of Rion because we have Cosmo. We got the Dodson Rogue, which I think is a really great rogue. She's got a bunch of X-Men characters like fighting in the background. It's really cool. Like it a lot. Let's keep going. All right, one weekend Black Swan. So I don't like Black Swan as a 3/5. I think Black Swan is an infinitely better card as a 2/3. I know some people said that Black Swan needed more power and be better as a 3. I think that's incorrect. I think as a 2/3, she's strictly better because she's more flexible. She lets you play her with other stuff. Honestly, I think she needs to be an ongoing to really be great. She's good, right? But she's a problem. The problem is you can't play her with cards like Iron Man. If she had, you don't want to play her with Bast, and Bast is a card that makes a lot of your one drops really, really great. She's got some fairly severe anti-synergy with a lot of the cards that you want to use in a bounce deck. And that makes her really complicated to use. If she were a 2/3 and you could run with Bast, we're starting to look at a more reasonable card that fits in a curve with Werewolf by Night significantly better, for example. As is, I think she's a miss, and she's going to need some kind of adjustment, honestly. She's one of the most frustrating cards, and that Beast was just a better version of her, and they killed the really, really great version of Beast that's existed forever in order to make this card that I don't really like more viable. Alright, the best version is Thanos Lockjaw Swan, and again, we're going to look at Thanos Lockjaw in a minute. The best versions don't run Black Swan. She is completely unnecessary to the best version of this deck. In fact, the versions of this deck that don't run her are fairly significantly better, which is a sad thing to say, but it's true. Because you don't want to see... So the problem with Black Swan and Thanos is you don't want to hold stones so you can Black Swan on 3 and play a bunch of stones on 4, right? You want to play your stones early so that you can get stuff off. You can... Sorry, itch. You can get that Black Swan like off on turn 5, but like, are you really playing it over Leech or Vision? Right? Like, you can hope to see it hit it with Iron Lad, that'd be cool, but like, there's just not a lot of really good ways to do it. You don't hate if it pops out a Lockjaw, which is one of the best thing I can say for it. If it pops out a Lockjaw on like turn 4, you get to play a Leech or Vision or Blue Marvel and a stone into Lockjaw, which is very powerful. But otherwise, this is the deck that Black Swan enables. This deck didn't exist prior to Black Swan. It maintains a high win rate, but I played this a bunch with Gunny, and I don't think it was very good. I think it's just it's a bot eater, largely because bots see that you have no power on the board and snap into, and then you can win. But like, outside of that, I think this is kind of mid. But this is a deck that is ultimately enabled by Black Swan, and hey, it's a strong guy deck, right? So like, can't hate that too much. Also, the strong guy was going to be one of my We Vote Wednesday decks, so now it can't be, so poop for this deck. Alright, the last one is the Black Swan Bounce. This is the current most successful version of Black Swan Bounce. We've been all over the place with this build, largely because it has insane anti-synergy, right? This one just says, screw you, I'm running Bast. It's running Kitty, which I'm pretty sure is just a mistake at this point, but like, look, this is the highest win rate one. So it is what it is at this point. You're spending your turn 5 going Black Swan Falcon, but then you literally cannot play Shang-Chi and Hitmonkey. And like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? Because you can't run Zabu then, right? Like, this is frustrating. Black Swan, basically, by costing 3, has made everything intensely difficult and complicated for bounce decks. And especially because it killed Beast. I don't like this card. I think it's both bad and it destroyed things that were good. Alright, this is our Meta Monday deck. This is the deck that is currently, last I checked, number 1 on the Infinite Leaderboard. I guess I haven't checked in like 5 hours, but whatever. It was number 1 on the Infinite Leaderboard by Daruk, who is Monkey on the leaderboards. This is a deck that, well, we'll get to who crafted it later because it's complicated. But this is our standard Thanos Lockjaw. This is our working Thanos Lockjaw. You'll notice the first 2 cards of last month came out, but in the best version, the version that's at the top, we have neither Supergiant nor Black Swan. We have Kyara, because protecting our ones and especially protecting our Magneto, Scar, Thanos, Blob are extraordinarily important for this deck. And we have Scar because we have Lockjaw and we have Devil Dino, so sometimes we just have a massive amount of power early. I am working under the assumption that Cull Obsidian will go in this deck. For what? I cannot tell you for sure right now. It's possible the answer is Shang-Chi. Possible the answer is Jeff. But I'm pretty sure that Cull Obsidian is going to go in this deck, because then if you miss on your big stuff and you can go call Devil Dino and have a 2 call Scar to end the game, that seems like it's probably pretty freaking good. All right. From there, we move on to proper deck credits. So this exact version is from .geo, Urban, Poggy Bunsey, Lupo Snappa, and Desert Fox. So last season, 3 of them finished in the top 10, 1 finished in the top 15, 1 finished in the top 20. .geo finished in first place with Poggy Bunsey, and second, I believe. .geo hit him first with this deck this season, as did Duruk or Monkey. Cool. Geo, Urban, Pokebonzi, Lupoche Snappa, and Desert Fox are a group of Italian players that play, work, and build together and have been dominating Marvel Snap. I don't think there's much argument to say that they're the most successful group in Marvel Snap at this exact moment, including the Lambie fan, no offense to Lambie fan, including Cam Best crew. They've been dominating the top of ladder. They will also, I'm hoping, I know at least some of them, and I'm hoping all of them, fingers crossed, and I know you're watching, .geo is in, will be in the Snap Judge League, so let's see how this goes in a tournament, folks. All right, so .geo and Duruk both got number 1 with this in the world, and props to Torikun, who had a different version last season that he finished in the top 5, and the Human Spider, who basically stayed on Thanos Lockjaw when everyone else had moved off, and gave us the shell that from which we built all of these decks. I mean, look, the original shell is like the elite Hassa, like Lambifam version from like a bajillion years ago, Quinjet. But that deck is so different at this point that like what happened is the Human Spider kept playing it, Torikun really refined it, and then we got to this number 1 version with these players. Cool. So huge props, massive credit to these players. Some people are like, I don't care who built this. I'm really sorry if you're one of those people. I am fascinated by the minds of the best players and how we get to the best things to play in Marvel Snap. Some people are like, it's 12 cards, it's not that hard. You have no idea. I promise you, I do this every day. I do this more than everyone. You have no idea how much of a challenge it is to come up with stuff like this. All right. So replacements: armor for Kyra, Jeff for Wave or Nightcrawler. Jeff for Wave or Nightcrawler, Scar for She-Hulk, and Thanos and Blob are required. Don't play without Thanos and Blob. So this is the best deck in the game, in my personal opinion. I think the second best is Hela, the third best is Loki, and the fourth best is Destroy. That is my current top 4 in the game. We've covered Destroy in previous Meta Mondays. There's a channel fact. It's not there right now, but within the next day or two, I've got to organize it. There will be an every Meta Monday, which will have the Meta Destroy list in it. We've covered Loki today, and we also covered, again, that Hela list on like January 20th. So if you want to go find the January 20th video, you can find that too. So turn 1, stones to draw. Turn 2, stones for Jeff. Generally prefer stones. Jeff means that there's a specific location that you want Jeff out for. Turn 3 is Lockjaw is generally the best play. Psylocke is also phenomenal, and Kyara is perfectly fine. You'd rather not. Turn 4, you would like to throw a stone into Lockjaw and drop either Psylocke or Kyara. If you played Psylocke, you drop a 5, and you almost always Psylocke on 4 if you have it at this point. You're not necessarily, if you have Lockjaw out, you're not Psylocking on 4. Excuse me, you're not Psylocking on 4 to always play a 6. Sometimes you're Psylocking on 4 to play a 5 and a stone into Lockjaw. So turn 5 is a 5, and turn 6 is either Blob or a 5 and a stone into Lockjaw. And then you win. This deck is crazy powerful. I played it just enough to go, ooh, gross, this feels icky. I probably could have hit Infinite with this or the Hela deck, but I didn't really want to, so I didn't. I think Loki was more fun. This is the best, though. All right, To play against this, first, good freaking luck. This is the highest of the high roll decks. If it sees its high roll, you lose. Destroy can give this a game, particularly with Killmonger. If you get that Killmonger out and kill a bunch of stones before they get Kyra out, you can win this matchup because now you have free death. Rocks into the deck can help, but you have to be running Supergiant to stop Leech at that point. If they see Leech, you die. So Supergiant gives you some play, which means that there's probably the best Darkhawk deck right now probably has to run Supergiant as its turn 4 play, which is not something it really wants to be doing right now. Turn 5 is the next thing that you can really do to help against it is if they have Lockjaw, if you can Cosmo that Lockjaw lane before they can get any benefit out of it, like if their blob pops out of it, you've kept their blob at 0, so on. You also really like Shadow King is really good against blob, but that's the only target, so it's not great, which is part of what's so powerful about it. A lot of tech cards only answer one thing in the deck. Like Enchantress for Kyra is great, Enchantress for Devil Dino is great. If Kyra and Devil Dino are in different lanes, you have a problem, right? Shang on blob is really good, but you also need Enchantress on Kyra. The fact that this does not have one route to attack it with through tech cards is really, really strong. If they don't draw well, if they don't go off, and you can ramp into Sandman on 4, they often have to just run. There's very little that this deck can do against Sandman. It wants to be playing cards into Lockjaw and moving things around, and if it cannot do that, it often just falls apart. Ooh. Oh, also, I mean, just Hela can go over the top, right? Hela can just get huge enough to go over the top and beat this sometimes. Although, hey, Leech beats the pants off Hela, beats the pants off Sarah. Sarah's the 5th best deck, beats the pants off Destroy. Leech is a problem, which is again why Supergiant matters right now. Alright, a quick look at variants from this one, and then we're going to get to our wrap up. We got Psylocke, Jeff, Lockjaw, Leech, Vision, Blob, and Magneto. We got 7 hips, really good number. This Thanos will be mine. Alright, we're not doing that. We are thanking certain Patreons. We got Abigail Giesland, Mandatory Burnout, Cables, DG Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, Fothor Newman, who you need to follow. He's like 20 subs from 1,000. Go help him. Good Dog Gamer, Inc., Jay Nevery, JD McDonaldino, Aquila Platano, best name, Hertixley, Koire, J Bussy, Models, Lou Antunes, Matt Conduit, Matt H, Mikey Hijinks, NoFlex, Ocularis, Pretty Chill, Seamus, Spike Jones, Two Ties, the homie Tucker, X-Force V, and the homie Min. Hey, y'all, tonight, this very night at like 8:30 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be on Tucker stream, so twitch.tv/Tucker. Check it out. I'm going to chill with the homie for the evening. Make sure you don't want to miss it. All right. We covered some of the best decks in Snap today. That's always a plus, right? Hit that sub button, hit that like, hit that comment. Check the Patreon out. $1 gives you access to the tournament. You know you want to be in the tournament. You know you want to test your mettle against Lambie or Drewberry or whatever top player. You don't get chances for this in other games. Enjoy it. Hopefully we'll be doing this all the time, but being the inaugural one, be part of history. We'll see you tomorrow for another Snap Take where we review Cull Obsidian. Peace.